Today in Luther's Kitchen, we're making pull-apart garlic bread, a real crowd pleaser, and it looks really cool on the table. So to begin with, in this video, we're making a double batch. So to make a single, you would use a half a cup of warm water. That's about 110 degrees. You are going to add a tablespoon of sugar and a teaspoon of active dry yeast. And you just want to park that for a bit, give it a little stir. And you want it to sit for about 5 minutes until the yeast and the sugar and the water start to activate and you get a nice frothy top. Now we're going to add some warm milk. So we've got about a half a cup, and you could use whole milk, 2%, or in this case we used 1%. And to that you also want to add a tablespoon of softened butter. Now you're going to start to add bread flour in, and we're putting in about 2 cups to start with, and we just want to see what happens. There's the butter, and we also dropped in some salt. You need kosher salt. If you don't put salt in bread, you're not going to have good bread. So we dropped in about 2 cups to start, and just to see the consistency of the dough, and then very slowly we added the remaining cup. So we used 3 cups in this recipe. If you're doubling it, you may use almost 6 cups, but it makes 2 loaves if you double it. So just a little bit at a time, add the flour in until the dough starts to pull away from the bowl. You want it to be a little sticky still, but you need most of it to come towards the dough hook. So you can see most of it is pulled away from the dough hook. It looks like there's a little bit of dry crumbs towards the bottom of the bowl. So we just want to give it another couple minutes to knead to make sure that the crumbs are incorporated and that our dough is not too dry. Now it's time for everybody's favorite part, and that is to knead it just a little bit until it becomes smooth. You want to let this proof in an oil bowl, but you want to make sure the dough is smooth before you put it into the bowl. So you don't want to knead it too much, maybe 2 minutes tops, but you want to use the heels of your hands to just kind of use your body weight to press it to get a nice smooth dough. And once you've smoothed it out, you're going to prepare a bowl by greasing the inside with a little oil, and then just drop that dough into the bowl, plastic wrap it, put it in a warm place, and let it rest until it's doubled in size. It may take about an hour, hour and a half. While our dough is proofing or resting, we are going to make our garlic butter topping, and you could either go butter or you could go oil, olive oil. Either way works. So in the bowl we added some melted butter, some finely chopped parsley, or you could use dried parsley if you don't have fresh on hand. We added some dried oregano, or you could use finely chopped fresh oregano, some kosher salt if you're using unsalted butter, and then a couple cloves of garlic minced. Our dough is proofed, it's nice and puffy, so we're gonna punch it down. And I'm not using a floured surface. I don't want to put any more flour on this dough, so I'm gonna actually use some meatball tongs because it helps me portion out the dough, but you could use a scale. Scales are great because they give you accurate measurements. You want your balls to be roughly the same size so that it bakes evenly in the oven. So I'm using meatball tongs, and I'm going to use, again, the weight of my hand, that heel of my hand, to gather the ball and just apply pressure onto the work surface so that I get a really smooth ball, nice and pretty. And you're just going to continue on doing that with all the dough. You should get at least 8 balls if you're making a single batch of this. Or you could get up to 20 if you're doing a double. So again, use the heel of your hand, rub it, and make sure you're getting a nice smooth ball. It really makes a difference in the finished product and how your loaf will look. Now we're using a standard 8-inch loaf pan, and you could spray the inside of the pan, but I don't really think it's necessary because you're dipping all this oil or butter mixture. You're going to take each ball of dough and you're going to roll it around in the oil, butter, herby, garlic yumminess, and you want to make sure you're coating them very well. And we did 2 different loaves, one that had 8 balls and the other that had 10 balls. And they both look great. Of course, the one with 10 is going to puff up a little bit more. You want to let these rise again until they double in size, so another hour, maybe hour and a half if your kitchen's cold. So plastic wrap it and park it in a cool place. And in an hour, when they're doubled, it should look like this. And our oven has preheated to 350 degrees. We're gonna bake these for about 30 minutes, 25-30 minutes. Check it about 25 minutes at a 350 degree oven. They need to be in the center rack, and I like to turn them halfway through. So 15 minutes in, I rotate it around so the back end of the loaf isn't super brown and the front looks raw. And then if I have any leftover oil mixture, butter mixture, this is a great time to apply it. Brush it right on top before you pop these into the hot 350 degree oven. If you're not sure if your bread is done, put a thermometer in the center, and if the temperature reads 200, it's good to go. For this recipe and more, visit myclasscancook.com.